Orange is about a girl named Naho who receives a letter from her future self 10 years in the future about the regrets she has from her past. It's up to her teenage self to get rid of those regrets. This is a very short manga and anime. I think only 12 episodes, and the manga was only 2 complete collections. What I found so good about Orange was its theming and messaging. It had very good messages to tell the reader regarding subjects like regrets and depression. I read it at a perfect time, which happens a lot to me for some reason. Not because I was depressed, but because of regrets. Not only does it touch on regretting things in the future, but how the only time we have is the present. So if we don't take advantage of the present, now it will be quickly over. It's really the only time we have. The future doesn't exist and the past is just the past. You can't do anything about it. We will always be living in the present and we can't change that. The way this book dives into these topics are with its characters and the letter Naho receives. Naho is a protagonist and she is 16 years old. Naho is a caring person that puts others' needs in front of hers, but struggles to put herself out there when she wants to. She usually has trouble telling someone what she wants to say. As said before, Naho receives a letter from her future self 10 years in the future. I'm not going to get into how she got the letter until later because I want to keep this part spoiler free. The letter goes through her days and significant events that happen that Naho wants her younger self to change. They can range from saying something she didn't to someone at first or saving someone else from something. At first, Naho doesn't really believe in the letter, because of course, who would believe a letter they randomly receive that says themselves from the future? But as the days pass and the events that the letter says will happen are actually coming true, she quickly begins to believe in the letter. So Naho starts to do what the letter asks of her. The main goal of the letter is to save her new friend, Kakeru, from his destiny. Kakeru is a student that transfers to Naho's school and quickly becomes part of Naho's friend group. Kakeru, I would say, is actually the main character. While Naho is a character the story is told through, Kakeru is who the story revolves around. Kakeru opens up to Naho's friend group and puts a happy face in front of them, even though it's clear that something is going on behind the scenes in his life. I think Kakeru is a character that I like the most in the end. He's a lovable character because even though he goes through a lot, he doesn't complain because he doesn't want to hurt others. Now speaking of the other characters, there's only one other that even stood out to me. That is Suwa, Naho's close friend that is always watching out for her. Suwa is a nice character, but we don't really get to see much of himself. He's more focused on helping others. The other characters from Naho's friend group are Azusa, Hagita, and Takako. They are each likable enough characters, but just don't get the screen time they need, as they are clearly just support characters. Hagita is a comic relief character, and he actually had me laughing at times. He was pretty funny. He's also the awkward person in the group. Azusa is a playful person with her friends and usually seen with Hagita. Takako is the more mature person in the group and is upfront about things. These 3 characters don't get much development if I'm being honest, which sucked because I do like these characters, but it's something I didn't really mind that much, since it's a short read. The manga was focused on telling other stories rather than developing these 3 characters. They are clearly just support characters. Now that I have touched on the characters, I'll go over the story a bit more. After Naho receives the letter, she is a bit skeptical about it, so she doesn't follow its instructions just yet, and until Naho starts to realize that everything that the letter says is coming true. So she decides to follow its instructions, to try to save her new friend Kakeru as the letter says. Naho really has a hard time doing the things the letter tells her to do though. It's hard. Not surprisingly, as her future self wasn't able to do it either. But now that she knows that she will regret not doing what the letter says, Naho tries to go out of her comfort zone to do whatever the letter says, mainly telling Kakeru things that her future self didn't. Naho tries to figure out why the letter is telling her to save Kakeru from his destiny, soon realizing that Kakeru is hiding something from their friend group, as Kakeru is seen as very mysterious and a bit sad at times. What does Naho have to save Kakeru from? What happens if Naho can't save Kakeru? From here on out though, unfortunately, I'm going to get into spoilers. If you have not read or watched Orange, I suggest you do. It is short and has a great theme to its story. Now let's get into the meat of the story. First, I want to mention, once again, the great theme. The theme of regret and leaving the present is done very well. It was definitely my favorite part of the series. Naho really has to change herself if she wants to get rid of those regrets. Naho also has to realize that Kakeru may very well not be with them in the future if she isn't able to save him, so she must appreciate every moment with him. Not only that, but just appreciate being with her friends. I really like this because the manga clearly sends these messages to the reader through the story and the characters, while also having subtle details sprinkled through the story. When Naho first got the letter, I was a bit skeptical how time travel would be handled, but I didn't come to mind how it was used. It's used more in the background. Obviously, they don't completely explain how it works, but I didn't really care. I did like how the author at least hinted at how the letters got to the characters through the Bermuda Triangle. Also, how younger Naho's world is different from older Naho's world. How they are in separate timelines. But again, it wasn't a big deal, as time travel wasn't the focus of the manga. It was more focused on his characters and lessons. So let's get into those characters. First, Naho. I really like Naho. Naho was really timid at first. She didn't really know how to talk to Kakeru since she liked him. Even when she found out the letter was real, it took her a while to do the things the letter said. Naho also put herself ahead of others as well. When she decides to make lunch for Kakeru, it was really nice of her. That was a good look at who she was as a person. I really started to like her more when she started to change though. The turning point for her was really when she realized that she couldn't rely on the letter for everything anymore. Since Naho's actions have changed her own world, the world her letter came from is different from her own world now. Naho herself had to change. She couldn't take orders from a letter anymore, for her regrets to go away, and for her to save Kakeru. She can no longer just rely on the letter. It was a great moment as up to that point, Naho had really only read the letter to know what to do. Once Naho learned how to be more confident, it was great, especially towards the end of the book, when she was able to talk to Kakeru in person about what happened on New Year's Eve, instead of just messaging him. She wasn't scared anymore. Naho was more scared about what could happen in the future if she didn't do anything at all. But someone that never really changed was Suwa. I kinda felt bad for him, since of course he also liked Naho just like Kakeru. Suwa and Naho end up getting married in the future of the different timeline and even have a kid. But in this timeline, he never gets to be with Naho. Kakeru and Naho end up together since Kakeru never ends up committing suicide. Suwa himself never really gets his own moment. He is always there for Naho and Kakeru though. We really see this when Suwa and Naho are trying to prevent Kakeru from going with his friend, because they know that day he will later try to commit suicide. Suwa does most of the talking, and you can really tell he cares for Kakeru a lot. He really just lays it all on him and just asks him up front if he ever wants to die. This is one of my favorite scenes in the whole manga because it shows the three main characters just showing their feelings to each other. Suwa also just supports Naho in anything, especially in trying to get closer to Kakeru. Suwa puts everyone ahead of himself, which is great, but it also sucks. Since Suwa is such a likable character, he isn't selfish. I also wanted him to get what he wanted and change as a character, but unfortunately, we didn't get to see that at all. Kakeru himself was also very likable. We get to learn a lot about him as technically he is the main character. The entire story revolves around him. Every character is trying to save him from his fate. Kakeru could be hated by some people because of how negative he is on his side, and Kakeru still trying to kill himself at the end, despite his friends supporting him throughout the majority of the book. But Kakeru goes through a lot more than just his mother dying. Kakeru's only family is his grandmother. His parents divorced, and later, his mother passed away, and he blames himself for it because he wasn't there to prevent it. Not only that, his previous group of friends take his depression as a joke, so even when Suwa and Naho open up to him, he doesn't know if he can truly trust them. They very well might be like his past friends that act like they do care but don't really. When you are in a situation like Kakeru, many thoughts go through your head and it's hard to get past all of them and continue living life. So I couldn't understand why Kakeru still tried to kill himself in the end. Now for Kakeru's personality, he's a lot like Suwa and Naho in many ways. He puts others in front of himself on many occasions. An example is when he stops talking to Naho so he can stop hurting her. This was obviously the wrong way to go about it, but it showed that he cared for others. Also, just like Naho, he is also timid. Kakeru has difficulty saying how he feels. We also see that when he tried to hold Naho's hand. Since he doesn't just grab it or say he wants to hold her hand, Naho doesn't get the message. This of course changes though. As the others start opening up to him greatly, he starts to also open up. Going back to the scene where Suwa and Naho try to prevent him from meeting up with his friend, Kakeru comes out to tell him that he does in fact think of dying. Overall, Kakeru is a great character, if not just a bit mysterious. If the manga was longer, we'll definitely learn a lot more about him and understand him a bit more. I can't really nitpick his character or why he was depressed, because that was never something I went through. So I am in no position to question if he was in the right position to be suicidal, as I've seen others say. So I really liked Kakeru, as he was very sweet and went through a lot, and because of his great friends was able to get through all of it. For the other three characters, I don't have much else to say about them that I didn't say before. Hagita is pretty funny, Azusa is supportive and cheerful, and Tagako is also supportive. There's just not much I have to say about the three. They're not bad characters, but just not the most developed. I like them because they are also supportive and have their distinct personalities despite not being focused on. They are often seen together and also try to save Kakeru, because they also got letters from the future. When Suwa was revealed to also have received a letter, it was a twist I didn't expect. When the others showed their letters, I wasn't as surprised for good reason. I heard some people have a problem with this, but I didn't seem to mind it much. Yeah, the author could have made it so Suwa and Naho have to convince the others that they got a letter from the future, and it's predicting everything that is happening, but again, the manga is just too short for that. The three of them receiving a letter and all five of the friends being on the same page of trying to save Kakeru was great. Again, I didn't dislike it because I understood that the manga was not focused on the time travel aspect of it and trying to make it all make sense. The main focus of the manga was sending a message to the reader, which was a message of regrets and living in the present. Throughout the story, we consistently get reminded of dealing with regrets, how to live without them, and living in the present moment. It's clearly portrayed in the story but not shoved in your face, which I really liked. A lot of stories either don't do a job of even showing their main theme or shove it straight in your face. Orange struck a great balance. I liked it a lot, as that message really stuck with me. After reading it, I had moments in my day that I would think about what my future self would think if I didn't do something or did do something. That is a great sign of a great story. The manga also had great quotes. Some of my favorites being, maybe it's impossible to live life without regrets. Even when you know the future, you'll still mess up. There's no time like the present. I really like this theme a lot. A lot of the time, we are focused on things we did in the past and the future rather than the present. Technically, the present is the only time we have, so why not enjoy it? We can't change the past and we can't predict the future. The best thing you can do is just enjoy the moment. Their journey is really the destination after all. A lot of times, we remember times in the past and think, damn, why didn't I appreciate that while it lasted? So let's all just appreciate the moment. Even as you watch this video, appreciate that you're even able to watch this. You never know what could happen tomorrow. Naho and her friend's future self never knew what was going to happen to Kakeru. Now luckily, they were able to send letters back in time, but we obviously can't. So let's do whatever we can to appreciate it now and make a good future. I'm gonna leave it there. This was a great but short read. I definitely recommend it. The whole story is on these two collections. There's also the anime. Orange has a short story that is sweet and sends a good message. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.